So the first order of business is actually approval of minutes of the commission meeting of July 7th. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
Bob Guthrie, I'll make the motion.
Okay, I got Bob Guthrie. Is there a second?
Jeff Morissette, second.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any corrections or amendments? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any abstentions or votes to the negative? Hearing none, I'll declare the minutes adopted. Before first public comment, I just want to make sure I update everyone that I have retired from the town of Coventry as their town manager, and I'm staying on the E911 commission till the Council of Small Towns finds somebody. And at that point, if there's another opening that I would fit for, I'd be glad to stay on for a bit. But it would be, I think, appropriate then to look at who would want to be the chairman, and we're looking into whether that's a governor's appointment or a suggestion to the governor's office. So just keeping you up to date that I will be staying on until the Council of Small Towns finds their person and goes through that appointment process to make sure we achieve a quorum, and then we'll see where the future goes. So I just want to fill people in on that. It's been my pleasure to serve. When I started, I really didn't know all of what the 911 Commission did, and the amount of things that have come since then with the advancing technology has just been amazing. And we're going to have a presentation on that soon on 988. But let's start first with public comment. Is there any public comment to share? There'll be an opportunity at the end too. Hearing no public comment, let's go on to the 988 presentation.
Hey, John, it's Clayton. Sorry to barge in real quick. I just want to let everybody know that we are recording the meeting. I just wanted to make an announcement for those that didn't see that we are recording the meeting, and the meeting will be posted to our YouTube channel if anybody wants to view it afterwards. But sorry to interrupt. Please proceed.
Yep. So go ahead, proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dana Began, and I am from the Connecticut Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. I will be presenting on 988 implementation in Connecticut, along with my colleagues from the Department of Children and Families and the United Way of Connecticut. While I'm pulling up the PowerPoint, I will just ask my colleagues to introduce themselves briefly. Francis Gregory from DCF and Annette Buckley from United Way. Frank, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, Frank Gregory from DCF, actually a member of this commission, but I'm happy to partner with Demas on this initiative. Annette?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Annette Buckley. I am with the United Way of Connecticut. I'm the Senior Director of the call center, and we take the 988 calls for the state of Connecticut.
Thank you both. Can everybody see my screen okay right now?
Yes.
Great. So as I mentioned, this is a collaboration between the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, the Department of Children and Families, and the United Way of Connecticut. Today, we will just be really providing kind of a 30,000-foot overview of 988 implementation in Connecticut. We'll talk briefly about the mental health crisis in America, which I'm sure many of us are familiar with, how 988 came to be, some of the transformative moments of 988, and I'll also present briefly on some of the data that we've been seeing since the implementation of 988. And then certainly at the end, we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. So just to give you some sense of the extent of the mental health crisis in America, in 2020, there were approximately 1 death by suicide every 11 minutes. In 2020, people aged 10 to 14 and 25 to 34-year-old, suicide was the leading cause of death. And from April 2020 to 2021, over 100,000 people died from drug overdoses. So clearly, there is a significant crisis, and these numbers, we continue to see these numbers, steadily climbing over the last several years since 2020 as well. But there is hope, certainly, and 988 is one of those avenues for people to reach out to for crisis and support. So 988 is the new suicide and crisis lifeline. It was formerly known as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I don't know if folks remember, but the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline was a 1-800 number. And unfortunately, 1-800 numbers aren't always the easiest to remember. This particular number was 1-800, 1-800, oh goodness gracious, now I'm even forgetting the number.
You're proving your point.
I'm getting
The last four digits were talk.
273 talk. Thank you, Annette. Yes, 1-800-273-TALK. I was getting it confused with our other adult crisis line, which is 1-800-HOPE-135. The HOPE word was getting stuck in my head. But my apologies. Going back, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline used to be 1-800-273-TALK. Again, it was difficult to remember. Not everybody knew what it was. And so it was felt that we needed to convert to a new, easy to remember 3-digit number that was more user-friendly and easy to remember. And these crisis lines are proven to work. Studies have shown that when speaking with a crisis counselor or call taker, most callers are more likely to feel less depressed, less suicidal, less overwhelmed, and more hopeful. And we'll talk a little bit more about what the crisis counselors on 988 do in a few slides. I'm not going to go through this timeline in detail, but just to point out the most significant dates. Again, here it is in 2005. This 1-800 number 273-TALK was launched in 2005. Then we jumped to 2020, in which the FCC decided to designate 988 as the new 3-digit number for suicide prevention and mental health crises across the nation. And fast forward to July 16th of 2022, that was the official launch nationwide of 988. And our partners at United Way did an amazing job of working with our departments to have a very successful launch of 988 in July of 22. Just some background, and again, a little bit on the timeline. This is, kind of repeating a little bit of the previous slide, but again, this 1-800-273-TALK was in existence. There was discussion around really wanting a more user-friendly and easy to remember 3-digit number, similar to 911. And so 988 was identified. July of 2020, the FCC finalizes the rule and order designating 988. October 17th of 2020, there was the National Suicide Hotline Designation Act, which was signed by the president. And in April of 22, Connecticut received its first 988 implementation grant from SAMHSA. We have since just recently, within the last few weeks, received another grant that will carry us from 2023 through 2026, so a 3-year grant to also assist with the implementation of 988. So the federal government is providing some funding for this implementation as well. So we do have federal funding that is carrying us through 2026. So how does 988 work in Connecticut? So as Annette mentioned, United Way is the statewide crisis call center in Connecticut. They handle crisis calls that come in from multiple crisis lines. And those crisis lines include 211, 988, and the action line. 211 is the crisis line for youth. 988 is the crisis line for anyone, all ages, anywhere in Connecticut. And the action line is for adults in crisis in Connecticut. Suffice it to say that all these numbers come in to United Way contact center specialists. These contact center specialists are very thoroughly and specially trained in taking crisis calls. They go through very rigorous and time-intensive training on how to answer calls and respond accordingly. They respond in one of three ways. First and foremost, they provide telephonic support and potential crisis de-escalation and crisis resolution. United Way has a very strong track record of resolving approximately 94% of all of these crisis calls, no matter what line they're coming in from. 94% of the calls that come in are resolved telephonically by contact center specialists, which is a really significant percentage. United Way is one of the lead contact centers in the nation in this number. So we like to brag about that because they do a wonderful job of resolving these crises telephonically. The second method by which they respond is if they are not able to resolve the caller's crisis telephonically, and if they feel that there is a more clinical intervention that needs to take place, they are able to do what we call a warm handoff, which is a telephonic transfer to the mobile crisis team in the area in which the caller is calling from. And approximately 5% of calls, all these crisis calls, are warm transferred to a mobile crisis team, whether it's an adult mobile crisis team or a youth mobile crisis team. At that point, the clinician on the mobile crisis team will gather the information, maybe talk a little bit more with the caller, and could likely go out and do a in-person, face-to-face response with the individual to gather more clinical information and do a more clinical assessment to determine the needs of the individual. And then last but not least, when it is determined that a caller is at imminent risk, meaning they are an imminent danger to themselves or others, United Way will initiate what's called an active rescue, which is essentially activating 911 and getting the appropriate either medical or emergency or police response to the individual, because it has been determined through, again, very structured and very detailed protocols that United Way has in place, that this individual is at imminent risk to harm themselves or somebody else. And 1% or less of all of these crisis calls result in an active rescue. And I think this is a really important point because I think that there is quite a bit of stigma and concern from the public that calling 988 will automatically result in 911 being called, the police being called, an ambulance being dispatched. And that is actually the least common response when somebody in crisis is calling 988. As I mentioned, 94% of calls are resolved telephonically. 5%, a clinician goes out to talk to the individual, and it's that less than 1% where emergency response is activated. So I think that's an important point for me to emphasize and for us all to remember for 988 crisis calls. Just some data You'll see at the top the month and the year. So from July of 2022 through March of 2023, we're looking at 988 call data. And on the second line here, we're looking at the, oh, my apologies. We're looking at the total number of Lifeline calls answered. And as you can see, so July of 22 was when 988 officially launched. And back then we were just shy of 2,500 calls in that month. In March of 2023, we're well over 3,300 calls. And these calls are remaining steady. So the last few months, we are continuing to see anywhere from 3,000 to 3,500 calls just to 988 per month. So that's a significant amount. And again, this highlighted line here, 98% of calls are being answered in 4 seconds or less, which is very significant. Just to give you a sense, the benchmark, the standard from Vibrant is that 95% of calls get answered in 15 seconds or less. So United Way is clearly over the benchmark and answering 98% in 4 seconds, and about 4 or 5 seconds. So that's wonderful to see as well. This is just a graphic representation of the slide that I just showed you in terms of the call volume increasing. You can see between January and February, there did appear to be a bit of a peak, which isn't uncommon for right after or right around the holidays. But definitely seeing that steady increase in those calls. This is just 988 data by gender, just for you to take a look. You can see when we started out, we had close to similar numbers of male and female callers. Fast forwarding to March of 2023, we actually have had a significant increase in the number of male callers, which we're actually glad to see, because typically speaking, males are less likely to reach out for help and support when they're experiencing a behavioral health crisis. So we're glad to see that those numbers of men that are reaching out are increasing. Again, this is just another graphic representation of the previous slide in a line graph. And this is just age ranges for the individuals that we are seeing call. So as you can see, 35 to 44 and 45 to 54 started out being the highest age ranges that are calling. And fast forward to March of 2023, that 35 to 44 age range has increased significantly. So those numbers are interesting as well. You can also see 12 and under, just so folks are aware on the youth under the age of 18. United Way tracks the data. So oftentimes a concerned adult is calling about a youth under the age of 18, and United Way is tracking the data to represent not the caller's age, but who they are calling about. So if they are calling about a youth, that's the age that they're capturing. They're capturing, if they're calling about a 12-year-old, that's the age that they're capturing. So just to clarify that, again, oftentimes with youth, it's a concerned adult that's calling, not necessarily the youth themselves. And this is also a slide just to show some of the reasons why individuals are calling. Either, current thoughts of suicide, suicidal ideation in the recent past, prior suicide attempts, et cetera, et cetera. So all of this data is gathered by United Way. It's reported on a regular basis, a monthly basis, to both the Department of Mental Health and the Department of Children and Families. They really gather quite a bit of data, and it's very relevant and very meaningful in looking at how, we're implementing 988 and the services that we're providing. So it's quite informative and quite helpful. Just for folks to be aware of, SAMHSA does have a toolkit about 988. They have various resources and materials that anyone can go online and they can order free. They can order supplies. They can order magnets, Post-it notes, various print materials that you can actually have and keep in your facility, posters that you can put up in your organization. So there is that available, and various other scripts, slide decks, fact sheets, all information related to 988 that may be helpful to stakeholders, to the public, that is available to anyone. So the messaging that is helpful to share, there really is no wrong door in Connecticut when somebody is trying to reach out for help when they're in crisis. Although we have various numbers to call, we're grateful that we have various numbers to call. We have various mechanisms by which individuals can get the help that they need. So people can call 211. They can call 988. They can call the Adult Action Line. And all of these numbers will get them the help and support that they need. All of these numbers are answered by the trained crisis contact center specialists at United Way. And really, help is there and available for anyone who needs it. That is my presentation. I will leave some time if there are any questions for myself, for Frank on the DCF side, or for Annette from United Way.
Thank you very much for the interesting and impactful information. Why don't we open it up then for questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Go ahead, John.
Yes, just curious, for the adult callers, do you elicit occupation at all? Or do you have any data?
We do not collect that information.
Thank you.
Anyone else today? If you could forward, if you haven't already, the packet of information to either Bonnie or Clayton, so that they could get it out to the members. I'd like to share that with some of our towns. It's significant information, and I appreciate the effort pulling it all together and sharing it.
Sure, my pleasure. I can definitely send you the slide deck.
Thank you. And the information that you mentioned online for SAMHSA.
Yep, I will send you that as well, for sure.
Okay, so we can forward that off to our member towns to gather and maybe add it to their websites. So appreciate it very much. I know it's a big task to get something moving this quickly, and the impact is showing. So thank you very much. I saw some comments appreciating the presentation. So any last words from anyone?
Yeah, John, it's Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
I would like to thank these folks for putting this together. They've been exceptional partners over the years and have gone a long way in making themselves a resource, not just for the public, but for the PSAP. So I just want to put that out there and thank them for the presentation.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, well, we can move on then. I guess the next agenda item is the DSET project update.
Good morning, John. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? See me?
Yes, we can.
Very good.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Stan.
My name is Stanley Dombrowski. I'm the Emergency Telecommunications Manager here in the state of Connecticut. I support the Director Clayton Northgraves, who manages the statewide Emergency Telecommunications Organization and NG911 program. I provide oversight and vendor management regarding a variety of 911 systems, processes, and deployments. My first update will be on the Rapid Deploy Eclipse Analytics product. This software as a service solution has replaced the current 911 Power MIS call reporting system. It can be accessed from any laptop or mobile device and does not rely on NG workstation connectivity. Using Eclipse, I found it has additional information for abandoned calls that don't last long enough for Power 911 to interpret. By using the call search feature on Eclipse, a dispatcher will have historical call record detail that can aid on a caller's map location for those short duration call events. I encourage using this feature to gain additional insight to locate an otherwise lost call or just have a better record of the event. Instructor training has been offered to all the PSAPs. Register for the recorded session at the following URL included in these meeting notes. Any questions on that?
Hearing
Next.
none.
Next topic, thank you. Rapid SOS. Rapid SOS is an independent provider of location information whose data AT&T is integrating into the NG911 MapFlex display. As I reported at the prior commission meeting, AT&T learned that the Rapid SOS interface requirements are incompatible with the system configuration currently deployed in the state. As a result, each 911 workstation at each PSAP will have to be upgraded. However, a single PSAP's workstation position and separately an upgraded NG911 Windows 10 laptop has been successfully upgraded using the Rapid SOS feature for a proof of concept test. DSET leadership is currently evaluating options to upgrade each position in the state to meet the necessary operating system requirements. Anything on that one?
Is there a time frame for that?
Not at this time. The decision on the method to upgrade those positions is very dependent on the deployment of that SOS feature.
Okay, thank you.
And it's Clayton. I'll just break in real quick, John. We've also learned that virtually every PSAP in the state, there might be a few that don't, but they're all using the Rapid SOS portal. So they're getting that information anyway. It's just to make it a little bit more convenient for the dispatchers. But we are working on it. We're working with AT&T on the timeline. Sorry to interrupt, Stan.
Not at all. Thank you, Clayton. Okay, the next one is the Adder KVM product. This is a 911 workspace upgrade from the company Adder. This optional PSAP funded and AT&T supported upgrade offers the capability to use a single keyboard and mouse to control multiple NG911 screens. There are 2 PSAPs in the state that have received the upgrade, and it is available statewide by contacting DSET, the NCC, or AT&T directly. Okay, on that one?
Yes.
Next, NG911 laptops. The NG911 laptops capability has grown appreciably. They have been deployed as an in-house, in-building way for use when the area needs to be relocated but stay geographically the same, as well as in the CSEC for an entire PSAP and building relocation event. The laptops are held and managed by the DSET engineering group. That's great news. Any questions on that one?
Sorry, Stan, just real quick.
Please.
We do have a laptop set up here in CSEC for the folks that are here. So if anybody wants to see it, we can take a picture of it and drop it in the chat.
So just so I understand, would this have helped like with the major Yukon relocation?
if they needed to leave that PSAP,
We lost your vote. We lost your audio.
sorry, that was a mute. I guess the wire hit it. I'm sorry, John. If that was a complete PSAP relocation, like the test we had was one of the troops completely relocated their office space, then if that was a situation there, then yes, that would have worked as well.
Thank you.
I'll just add from the last bullet with Rapid SOS, the laptops are also or were also tested for Rapid SOS for a specific PSAP in the CSAC for that proof of concept test. So that works there as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Continue.
Interstate 911 interoperability. Each state chooses their own ESINet or Emergency Services IP network vendor. The ability to take advantage of the efficiencies that direct connectivity offers depends on each state's ESINet vendor working together to test compatibility between systems. Currently, while we continue to see some interest, there aren't any plans between providers to connect directly. One major benefit of obtaining this is to reduce border state transfers for calls that would otherwise be routed correctly the first time. Any questions? Okay, the AT&T ESINet, the NG911 Emergency Services IP Network, or ESINet, is the call routing solution for all 911 calls entering the network. It routes 911 calls to the intended call handling Intrado Viper node and onto the correct PSAP. AT&T has migrated several carriers to connect directly to the AT&T ESINet instead of terminating on the ESINet and onto the Frontier Selective Router. While not fully an IP connection, these direct connects should improve on reliability and take advantage of diversity between AT&T ESINet cores. In addition, the state has one wireless carrier connected directly using IP SIP or Session Initiated Protocol to communicate with the ESINet. Connecting in this manner could potentially take advantage of additional features and caller location information such as Z-access or the location of the caller between floors in a building or above ground level. Questions on that one? Next one I have is Viper 7. The state of Connecticut is evaluating a proposal to upgrade to the next version of the Intrado Viper call handling solution. This next version includes features like agent roaming that allow dispatchers to log in at any PSAP site to function as if they were at their primary location. Any questions on that one? Last one I have for you is location mapping. The current Mapplex mapping application is not supported in Viper 7. The Viper 7 upgrade has the option of purchasing or adding mapping separately. It's been observed, as Clayton has pointed out, that some PSAPs already run a third-party mapping solution separate from the NG911 platform. DSET leadership will evaluate all mapping options after considering the potential upgrade of the Intrado Viper call handling solution and PSAP workstations. Thank you for your attention. Are there any more questions?
Thank you, Stanley. Are there questions today?
Yeah, going back to the laptops, I forgot if I had asked this in the past, but do we have a maintenance schedule where the laptops are regularly booted up to, make sure you're doing software updates and things like that?
Clayton, do we
Yeah,
have?
do you want me to handle?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, they're treated like any other 911 position in the state, whether it's fixed or mobile. So we have a contract with AT&T to provide routine maintenance. So AT&T provides all of the maintenance and upgrades to the laptops as well as all of the workstations, the fixed workstations in Connecticut.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else for Stanley today? Thank you for the updates. Any other questions? A lot going on. Thank you. Okay, we can move on to the next item, which is land mobile radio.
So good morning. My name is Scott Wright. I'm the Senior Telecommunications Engineer for the state of Connecticut. I work directly for Clayton under the Division of Statewide Emergency Telecommunications with a concentration on the land mobile radio side, and my group also provides the deployment support for the laptop consoles that we've talked about on the NG911 side. On the NG911 consoles, we had several test deployments over the last quarter, including to the town of Newington, as well as the Troop I temporary relocation for construction. Both of those opportunities gave us tremendous view into the consoles, as well as some pathways for possible improvement. And we're happy to work with Stan and the vendor on getting those things done. They are a tremendous asset to us, as well as the PSAP community, and we look forward to further development with that. One of my engineers, Troy Clark, who is a former PSAP telecommunications person, is in charge of that and has done a phenomenal job with working with the PSAPs and the telecommunicators and understanding and doing an educational campaign, and we thank him for his service in that respect. On the radio side, in the last quarter, we've seen a increase, of course, in use of both the trunk system and the radio system as a whole. We've increased in talk groups. We have a tremendous number of agencies that are starting to come onto the system, which of course is going to lead to increased usage. The nice part about the trunk system is that the system's designed for that. It's not like we have to expand capacity by more capacity type things to accommodate that. It's all part and parcel of the system that we already have, and it's working out tremendously. We've had about a 30% increase in push-to-talk activity and airtime on the trunk radio system from Q1 22 to Q3 23, and that's driven by a nearly 40% increase in PTT activity on the trunk radio system itself. So that's been a great boon for a number of agencies. The network continues to evolve. We have 8 new sites that are going to be going into the Fairfield County or G subsystem area alone. There's going to be some phenomenal coverage down in the G area for Fairfield County and the towns and cities that are participating in the network. We have executed a purchase order for what I call our Avon West site, which is over by the Canton line, which is going to assist Avon, Canton, and a number of towns in that area tremendously with coverage. We identified that as a potential area for expansion and capacity enhancement a while ago, and it's nice to see this project finally moving along in conjunction with our town partners in Avon, who are also adding a site as part of their system expansion. We've had purchase orders issued for the Department of Transportation as well as the Department of Correction. The Department of Transportation, as part of their implementation, is funding expansion of 4 subsystems, which are just going to greatly increase our capacity in the C, D, K, and L subsystems. K in particular is a linchpin where it is geographically in the state, and that's going to help us accommodate some newer users on the system. DOT is adding some console capability at their Hartford Operations Center. For those that aren't aware, DOT has 2 different operation centers in the state, one in Hartford, one in Bridgeport. They serve as backups for each other. And they also serve as the hub of operations for DOT for anything. You need to shut a highway down, you need to bring the DOT folks out, and the ability for them to be on the network is going to tremendously improve their interoperability with a number of our PSAPs in the state, as well as their ability to monitor what's going on in other areas of the state, and we look forward to implementing that. As part of the realignment with DOT, we are moving some existing consoles down to the Bridgeport Operations Center. Just realigning some existing resources, try to save some money overall in the state. And we're going to be adding a site up at DOT headquarters, which is going to assist our DOT partners as well as our partners in Newington. So it's the town of Newington's coming on the network as well. For DOC, we are replacing 2,400 DOC subscribers, radios, portables used in a facility. They are in desperate need. Their radios are well past their end of life date and support date. And those radios are desperately needed within a facility. Those radios are ordered, and we are looking forward to delivery and implementation, where we are working hand in hand with our partners at DOC to implement that. We're also going to be doing a beta site at a DOC facility to put a DOC facility on the state network, which is going to help out not only DOC, but the other state users like the state police as well. We have continued integration activity, town of Fairfield, Newington, I mentioned, Norwalk, Norwich, North Branford, Weston, Wilton, and the almost 5,000 DOT subscribers that are going to be coming on the system. We have some planning activity underway for our friends at Mental Health and Addiction Services, devised a rather robust system for them as well as one of the larger university systems in the state, with a rather extensive system for them with significant public safety impacts for them. We continue to work with other system manufacturers to resolve and enable the connections between our system and the city of Waterbury, the MTA police. Those are ongoing. We've discovered some issues. We're working with them to get resolved. We work with testing of console integration. We have a number of different consoles from other manufacturers on the system. So we want to make sure those are working correctly. And a number of those are used in our regional PSAPs. And used rather effectively. They use them every day. It works out very, very well. We continue with our beta testing with various manufacturers for both hardware and software. This is critically important to make sure the radios work. For whatever reason, the 48th biggest state in the country and my small group of people keep finding things with these pieces of equipment and software that others don't seem to find, and we're able to get those fixed before they wind up in the hands of our first responders. We do our ongoing review of people that are looking to add equipment to the system. Although time consuming and somewhat tedious, it's very necessary to make sure that our people are getting equipment that they need, not more equipment than they need, not buying features that they won't need. We collaborate almost on a daily basis with other similarly sized systems in the country. We all need to learn from each other. There's no sense in siloing the information. In the past quarter, we participated in the National APCO Conference, as well as the Motorola Trunk Users Group, to continue our education in our areas of expertise. One of the areas that I want to bring to the Commission's attention is we're spending an increasing amount of time on both bidirectional antennas and distributed antenna systems. That is part of the code in Connecticut and a requirement for new building construction, as well as significant modifications to buildings. And we are spending a lot of time on these, as they can be rather complicated and are very time consuming. But we're trying to accommodate the best we can. Past quarter, we've done a number of deployments to assist our PSAP and public safety users, whether it be to the Durham and Hebron fairs, the CSP Troop I temporary relocation for construction, where we use CSEC, as well as the deployment, the deployable consoles very effectively. The feedback that we got from both the telecommunicators and the command staff was extremely positive. We supported SailFest again, and we've done a number of portable radio deployments where if you have a large event in town and you just don't have enough radios for the amount of people you got coming, we have deployable radios we can bring in and deploy out. With that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions that may come up, or if you want to contact me offline, feel free to do so.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Scott? Anything to add, Clayton?
No, nothing to add.
Okay, I guess we can move on to Network Control Center.
Good morning, everyone. This is Julie Gatson with the Network Control Center Operations Manager. We are a contractor for the state. I report in directly to CTS and DSET. So I work with Clayton and Scott and Stan and John and their teams on a daily basis. I just want to check and make sure you are seeing my screen.
Yes, we are.
Perfect, perfect. So I just want to go through and give a little bit of the updates. Many of you probably have, those that are affiliated with the Land Mobile Radio Network are probably quite familiar with talking with us, as well as we've taken on the DSET 911 help desk services in April. So I think a lot more of the PSAPs throughout the state have talked with us. In addition to, we work with John about keeping the redundant power equipment updated. So oftentimes you'll hear from our operators and you'll see our technicians in your facilities. So we're out there moving and trying to get stuff done for the state of Connecticut. So just some of the highlights that we have going on right now is we have been working, our admin staff completed the Rapid Deploy Eclipse and ESINet training so that we can aid the DSET team. And specifically, we've been directly working with Stan on some data tracking and management analysis, just to try to better understand how all that information is coming in. One of the goals is to see if we can, through this data and analysis, help pick up on some of the more global issues that might be going on, if there's issues with the Vipers, et cetera, where we can kind of get out ahead of it and get the vendor responded before it's as impactful to the PSAPs, or it might be minor things that the PSAP hasn't noticed. So, those are some of the goals we're doing with that. We have one of our team members, Colleen Penzenalt, is taking on a new role as data coordinator with Adesta to continue to support that DSET data information that we're dealing with. In the NCC, it's constant data from tickets that are coming in, from reports that we do for Scott and his team regarding the Land Mobile Radio Network. And then, like I said, now with the DSET help desk, there's just so much information in regards to that, whether it's the tickets we're processing for 911 or whether it's the call take information that we're receiving through Rapid Deploy or ESINet. So we've really decided, to best support that. This is a really important role and to have a dedicated person for that. In addition, Colleen helps review our tickets and our notifications that we sent out to try to help continually improve our quality and performance. Upcoming, we just noted that we did not get the survey sent out, that was postponed. So we'll be coordinating with DSET to get that survey sent out to the PSAPs, just to, again, get some feedback on how their interactions with the NCC has been going and if they feel that they are having an increase in resolution for the issues that they're reporting for 911. I like to put this in the slide deck every time, just in case, different meetings, there's different folks there. But this is just the information that we're looking for when a PSAP is calling in to report a trouble with 911. So here, and I know this will get emailed out to everybody. So it's just a really good reference page. And here's the real fun stuff. Everybody likes to see the statistics, right? And that was some of my favorite parts of Dana's presentation as well. It's always nice to see that information come together. So this is just a look at all the tickets that we've processed over the quarter. We had 166 tickets that we processed for 911 related items. And this is just a breakout by location. So you can see LCD kind of had the most tickets at 11. Makes sense. They are a regional dispatch center handling a multitude of different locations. So this, again, information will be in the email that you receive. And this is a breakout of tickets by type. So you can see 35 of those tickets were maintenance by AT&T. So they're out there continually trying to improve the network. And we do track that information with them. Other maintenances where you see NG911 maintenance other, that could be a maintenance that's performed by the DAS BITS staff, or it could be a maintenance that is being performed by the DSET folks themselves. So that, that's where those other come from. Network issues related to servers, hardware, obviously, any alley applications, and others would be things that just don't fit in those specific toolboxes that we have. And you can see the breakout on the left of the tickets and how they're related. Again, Myself, Ernie Valero, Colleen Penzanal are the administrators for the NCC. You guys can reach out to us with any questions. I've got the NCC contact information posted here. There's a multitude of ways to get a hold of us, whether it's by phone, whether it's by email. Those of you that are on the Land Mobile Radio Network can reach us on the radio. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you're having any problems, if you have any questions. Any way that we can assist, we're here to. Any questions?
Any questions for Julie? As always, thank you for the information. It looks like things are busy, but under control.
Thank you.
We can then move on to legislation. Clayton, who's handling that?
So we do not have any legislation. The CARE usually handles that, but we don't have anything that we're tracking right now. So we can move to PSAP and Mark Borka.
All right, so I'll just mention that obviously if the commission is looking for any legislation for next year, now is the time to start working on it. And that has to then go through the commissioner's office to see whether it's a priority for them or not. But, if there's anything that we need as a commission to argue for, we need to coordinate that through Clayton to try to get it within the DPS's process to see whether it rises to the top, because each agency usually only has one or two key bills. That's one issue. The second is whether the commission at some point wants to think about early in a session of doing some type of presentation or update of where the 911 system is, because I bet you a lot of legislatures don't know, and it might be good to share that. I know last year Clayton did do a couple presentations to other various agencies, but I think it'd be good to think about that and think whether that's a good idea or not. So is there any comment on either of those issues?
If any commissioners have a comment, certainly willing to hear that. But just as you said, we fully support the commission getting involved in both legislation and other areas. And I'm certainly willing to give a presentation to any group about our 911 systems or our Land Mobile Radio Network or the other areas that we manage, Public Safety Data Network, and there's a host of other ones that we manage as well.
So I just think, this commission and clearly the staff, it's good the commission can take bragging rights, but this is a
John, we have a chat message from one of the commissioners. What would be the process of recognizing telecommunicators in the state of Connecticut as first responders? I know that's come up quite often. Go ahead. The complicated issue.
Yeah, I don't really know the process.
I know that, so we are involved with the MECA group, Managers of Emergency Communication Centers, and that has come up. So maybe some collaboration with that group. I know that Maureen Will from Newtown, this is an issue that she has championed along with a lot of other folks in MECA. So maybe we start there because I think they would be more familiar with that process, but DSET fully supports that change. That's just my initial thought.
That would be good to look into to see how we do that. And, yesterday's attack on the Bristol, of all departments, dispatch center is a reminder that the chain goes all the way down to that front desk, wherever it is. And that safety, it just shows that, when people talk about, well, why do we need protections there? You need them because you just never know what people are going to do. So if you could follow up on that and reach out to the dispatchers group and see it, but I think it'd be good to early in the session, once they have all the committees formed, to send an invite out. And I don't know the process through that. Maybe that's the commissioner's office, to have a presentation to kind of the public safety committee early in a session, just so they know. Because I think there's a lot to be taken, that the savings to the state of Connecticut for this whole communication network that's riding on the 911 system is just phenomenal, and saves the taxpayers. But more important than that, increases the efficiency of all the organizations. And I think it's a story to brag about and make sure they're aware of, because I bet they don't know. We'll just keep that in mind as things go forward, and follow up on a dispatcher thing. If anyone else has anything that we feel needs to be tweaked in legislation, please get hold of Clayton.
Yeah, and I'll take the lead on that question that Francisco posed.
Wait, I have one quick question.
Sure.
What was it in regards to the 911 answer time standard? Is that something that needs passed in legislation, or is that something?
That is a great question, and I'm going to put Carrie on the spot, because she has been working on that.
Sure, I'm happy to answer that. So we are aware of the new standard, perhaps not so new anymore, from NENA, National Emergency Number Association. That is something we need to change in our regulations, and we will be working with agency legal staff to do that. But that is not something, regulation changes typically do take some time, but we are very aware of it and are working to correct that, or update it, I guess I should say. And I'm happy to
And
facilitate.
Carrie,
Yes.
You're also going to make it easier, right? To instead of a regulation change, I know you're working to possibly make it just reflect the NENA standard. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, thank you, Clayton. So our objective is, instead of putting referencing specific numbers, we're going to make the language more broad so that it references the most current NENA standard. That will be the language, so that if there is a change or an update, we won't have to continually go through the regulatory process to do that. And I just want to add, as far as the telecommunicator status, I'm happy to assist with any communications with the MECA group as needed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Anything else? Okay, we can move on to PSEP grants.
Hello, Mark Gorka, planning specialist for DSET. In the first quarter of the 2023-24 state fiscal year, 1 municipal PSAP and 2 regional emergency communication centers were approved for a total of 4 individual capital expense grants for a total of $361,966. The funding supports emergency telecommunications through the purchase or replacement of UPS batteries, virtual servers, dispatch chairs, and antenna and tower site upgrades. The 23-24 cycle began on July 1st, and applications will be accepted through April 30th of 2024. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Okay, PSDN network governance.
I think we missed training. Yeah, we missed Peter. We got training next.
Oh, I'm sorry, Peter. Training.
No problem. Good morning, everyone. Our telecommunicator class, we've had 6 classes so far this year, and we have 3 more planned till the end of the year. We're having these classes in person over at the CSEC in the training room that you see on the screen under John Mastrelli's name. That is the training room we use. It's a great central location. Nothing but good things with the students that have come through. They like the facility. The room holds 25 students. And that's pretty much it for the telecommunicator class.
Great. Now I guess we can move on unless there's questions or comments. So now PSDN.
Good morning, everybody. This is John Mascadrelli. I work with the Division of Statewide Emergency Telecommunications. I'll be providing the commission with the Public Safety Data Network Governance Board meeting update. So we did have a meeting January 16th, but it was canceled due to lack of applications. The next meeting is scheduled for August 18th, where we do have one application to review. The application was submitted by Collin County Mutual Aid Fire Services. Collin County Mutual Aid is requesting use of the PSDN to connect Tom's PSAP to Lebanon Middle School for the purpose of supporting P25 simulcast radio system. And that is the only application as of today. Next, I'll provide you with the PSDN application status report update. So to date, 206 PSDN requests submitted to the PSDN Governance Board are in the pre-approval stage or have been approved and are operating on the PSDN. 191 of those requests have been raised, reviewed, and are voted on by the board. All 191 requests have been approved to operate on the PSDN. To date, there are 182 requests operating on the PSDN. There are 9 additional requests awaiting an implementation date or in the process of being implemented, and the remaining requests are in various stages of the connection process. Anybody have any questions regarding the PSDN Governance Board?
Hearing none. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
We can move on to geographic information systems. There was a good attachment that went out with the agenda.
I'm going to share the screen for the presentation too, so that anyone who doesn't have it can see it. Just bear with me 1 second. There we go. Can everyone kind of see that who's online? Yep. It's okay, good. I have a wide screen, so sometimes I have stuff on the right side that's lost to time. But so, hi, my name is Dan Chaya. I'm the GIS and MSAG coordinator for the state of Connecticut, working for DSET, and this is the GIS presentation for the 911 Commission. We continue to update our street center lines. Those are the red ones on the map. All these actually, the red, green, and blue, to accurately portray what's going on the ground. It's a monthly thing that we do to make sure that we have everything as up to date as possible. We continue to add address points for each house whenever we get them. If we get them from a town, we get them from AT&T tells us that there's a new development. We add those to our system so that we have a more accurate location for the calls. As of October 1st, with just mapping all the 911 database with the street center line, we're mapping about 99.44% of the database every month. And then if you include the address points, it bumps up to 99.52. So the street center line is really good. And then the address points just add that extra that makes it better. We continue to update the Master Street Address Guide with AT&T. We're in charge of okaying any changes. If a carrier wants to increase an address range on a street, so if your street used to go to 50 and now goes to 54, the Frontier or someone might ask, hey, can you make it 54? We check it, make sure it's good, and then we okay the change. And then if we find something, we also submit it for change. And at this point, we've done about 4,230 of those since 2010. We continue to support the agency's GIS and mapping efforts. The big one is we supply the state police CAD system with that street center line. So that data gets formatted and sent to them on a monthly or as needed basis. We continue to support CT Alert. We do a special mapping of all the 911 database records for them, and then formatted into their format so that it'll work in their system, so that when people have a CT alert to do, it's available. We are also a member of the GIS Advisory Council. It's a council of all the big players in the state, so a lot of state agencies. There's town membership, there's regional planning organization membership, there's I think there's even CCM membership. So there's a bunch of groups, and then some vendors are also on it. And we coordinate we're doing more of a coordination on the statewide level now that we have a statewide geographic information officer, Alfredo Herrera. There's a bunch of stuff going on right now. There's a parcel standard that they're working on, that we're working on. There's some database or website availability of data structuring that we're doing. The big one, though, is, and it's something I mention every time, is the aerial flight that we're doing. Well, we did in 2023 in April, and then we're also doing one in April of 2026, statewide, 3-inch pixels, so it's like that big. Of the state. You can see people, you can see cars, you can see sidewalks, you can see drainage ditches, and it's pretty nice. The data that we did in 2016 is the same way, but that's being worked on. And in the presentation that I have, this data shows it's just it usually takes a long time to find a spot like this, but I found it within 30 seconds. This is some of the pilot data. This data down on the bottom, it's the pilot data that our vendor Dewberry provided us to just make sure everything looks good. So the council looks at it, reviews it, says, yeah, this is good, and then they proceed going on. So happen to find a spot where I'm going to assume it's a condo or an apartment building was built down in East Haven. So it's available. That data now is available for us to create an address point for it, put it right on top of the building. And next year at some point, this data from 2023 is going to be loaded into the 911 system so that the call takers will have that data available. The only other thing going on with that right now is they just submitted, or they're about to submit, Dewberry's about to submit the True Ortho pilot, which means they're going to do certain spots like Hartford, New Haven, places where you have anything tall, really tall. They're going to do extra imagery so that all that stuff it's if you're looking straight down at it, so that you don't have like the gold building in Hartford, leaning 60 feet over because the picture was taken south of it, and then you can't see the roads, you can't see anything like that. That sort of information will definitely be available by the next commission meeting, and I'll definitely show it. There's other information that's coming with the project. They did a whole bunch of LiDAR, like really, really good LiDAR, and I don't have the imagery available right now, but there's going to be a presentation that was done to the council that's going to be available on their website. And as soon as that's available, I will forward it to Bonnie or someone to distribute to the council. And then, or if anyone else wants it, they can email me. It's on the website, so you can just find it. And then it's daniel.chai@ct.gov, and I'll send it to you, or I'll send you the link to it. But it's pretty impressive. The LiDAR will have 3D buildings. We'll have, hills, valleys. We'll be able to drape the imagery over top of that, and it'll make it look almost real. It's pretty amazing what we're getting for this project. But that's all I have. If anyone has any comments or questions, I can take them now.
Any questions for Dan? It's going to be great information.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think the imagery is going to be available. I think we're getting the imagery. It's like normal. It's like it'll be probably 3 weeks after the next commission meeting. So I think we're getting the imagery in January of 2024, and then everything else comes later. But I most want the imagery because I want to be able to find locations that I can't find now, and I want it on the 911 system, because that's definite stuff that we need. But the other stuff, at some point where we have 3D buildings and things like that, it could go into the 911 system if we decide to go that way with 3D mapping. But it's definitely, and it's also available for, you know, radio propagation and stuff like that. Like we've got all the hills, we've got the bare earth, so they eliminate every single tree. So all you're seeing is the bare earth. It's pretty amazing stuff. I've seen things on TV about, you know, they LiDAR the inside of a Egyptian pyramid or something. It's the same technology. It's just in an airplane and they're flying over and shooting lasers at the ground. Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. And we're very fortunate to get it. We got it in 2016, but this new stuff is, you know, I've been doing this for a while, and it blows me away what the detail is for that LiDAR. It's amazing. It's just, you can spend many an hour just staring at it and finding things in the woods and, you know, find holes, anything you want. It's pretty amazing stuff.
It's actually great for even historical research. You can see foundations.
Yeah, you don't, I not to get off too off on the subject, but I've been to presentations where land groups are going out and trying to find all their stone walls in some town. They're all there. You don't have to go anymore. You just go out there and draw them on a line, you know, draw a map of them, and you're done. They're all there. It's amazing how it does it. I mean, it's almost, not to get into the weeds too much, you could pretty much map houses with it. You don't even need imagery. If you just want the location of a house, you can map the houses with it. I mean, that's how accurate this information is. It's pretty wild. I'm excited for it to come out next year.
All right. Anything else for Dan? We can move on to emergency notification system then.
Good morning. Share my screen.
Sorry, I'm trying to, oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go, perfect. Good morning, my name is Kevin McManus. I'm a Senior Technical Account Manager from Everbridge, and I support the state of Connecticut. My responsibilities are CT alert, state agencies, PSAPs, and municipalities in the deployment, the training, and the continued operation of their Everbridge instances. This is a quick refresher. The state of Connecticut structure includes 3 primary functional areas: the CT alert, or the mass notification to the public, key state agencies for notifying their employees, their staff, and their partners, and PSAPs notifying their public safety personnel. I do offer a limited amount of support to the towns and cities in their own individual instances. The core platform CT Alert, it's a public mass notification system that's available to all 911 centers. CT Alert has been the mass notification system in Connecticut since 2009. The database currently has over 4.6 million contacts. This number frequently changes as the data inaccuracy is a continual maintenance project. In addition to the data provided by Everbridge, CT Alert also has a public opt-in portal, the traditional Frontier E911 database provided by DSET, and a recurring source of numbers from the early education and daycare centers, which is actually required by law. We have 480 operators or message senders currently with credentials to the system. New operator refreshers, trainers, on-site training are all available. In the third quarter of 2023, 5 CT Alert messages were launched, including messages for weather, water issues, a missing person, a critical road closure, and a gas leak. This brings us to a total of 36 messages for this year. This week, you likely received FEMA's alert test on your cell phone. This message is known as a wireless emergency alert, or WEA. This feature is available to DEMIS and activated through Everbridge. This year, only 2 WEAs have been generated by the state. They were both related to the accident and the fire on the Gold Star Bridge. Tornado warnings and flash flood warnings are other examples of WEA messages you may have received from the National Weather Service. This is also how you would receive an ambulance. The state has maintained 100% proficiency with ICOS testing through Everbridge. This is a FEMA requirement to remain in good standing and have access to their system should they need to send a WEA notification. Everbridge recently released a new feature called shape simplification. Frequently, those people who are involved in GIS know that corners of shapes known as vertices can become very complicated. FEMA only allows for a certain number of these corners or vertices, and this has actually created problems when trying to load shapes into the system or launch notifications. Fortunately, Connecticut has not had that problem. However, we launched this feature where we will auto simplify the shape to make it compliant with FEMA, thus resulting in no errors based on shape size. In addition to the CT Alert 911, there are 109 organizations or systems across the state account. These primarily involve key state agencies, PSATs, training, and special event appointments. We continue to expand our special notification groups. This includes the DSET E911 point of contact list, CT Alert users, and system-wide user lists. We leveraged these notifications last week, again, reminding people of the FEMA ICAUS alerts. These larger lists allow for broader messaging of officials should it become necessary. Our state of Connecticut Everbridge team recently met with DSET and included guests from Dennis, State Police, the DAS Security Unit, DEEP, and Capitol Police. We provided a deeper dive into the Everbridge system, the users, and how other people are using it. We've demonstrated some initiatives and new ways to use the system features, including the introduction of panic button apps, situational reporting, and crisis management. Continued special event support included SailFest, Greenbrier Special Olympics in Farmington. We'll be supporting the upcoming EPI exercises and also supporting the Hartford Marathon with on-site support. Almost finally, a breakdown of messages across the entire Connecticut Everbridge system. This includes to the end of Q3, 12.5 million deliveries have been sent. This includes notifications via text, voice, email, mobile app, and there are still legacy fax machines receiving notifications. In an effort to support the state of Connecticut, we continue to have a broad team. We introduced a handful of these team members with our on-site training, but in addition to myself in Connecticut, I have colleagues in Massachusetts and New Jersey operating as technical account managers. We have our administrative team in Massachusetts and California, and we still continue to have a 24/7 live support desk answered by Everbridge representatives. My information is available on the screen. That's the end of my report. I'll entertain any questions if there are.
Any questions for Kevin? Well, thank you very much. We can then move on to PSTN refresh.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Thank you, John. This is Chuck Fuller. Excuse me?
Yeah, I was just saying, Chuck, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, Chuck Fuller, Department of Emergency Services and Telecommunications, DSET. I'm going to update everyone on the PSTN refresh that has been underway for a couple of years now. But just a reminder, refresher for those who don't hear a lot about the PSTN, but don't understand what it really is. It's the PSTN is a dark fiber network. Public Safety Data Network is what it stands for. This network was deployed back between 2010 and 2012. It was sponsored and paid for by the DSET, Department of Public Safety, and we are in the midst of refreshing that network that, again, has been running since that time period. We have, it's a fiber network, it's a dark fiber network, statewide fiber that we deployed with the equipment attached to it. This network supports all of first responder applications, such as 911, as you all know, radio trunk groups from the state, collect NCIC, and CGIS, among other first responder applications. We are now in the midst of deploying this 7-ring topology We have just completed Ring 7 equipment refresh, which we rolled out and started that process back in early September. We are in the midst of deploying a second ring out of the 7, Ring 5. All is going well with the initial deployment of equipment. We're looking at the possibility of finishing all 7 rings as far as equipment deployment sometime in the first quarter of 2024. Again, everything is going well. This is a deployment that is not critical. It does not touch current production. It doesn't affect 911 or anything. Part of this deployment was a new greenfield fiber deployment, which we are deploying the new system adjacent to the existing PSTN with new fibers so that we can turn it up once all rings are deployed and test and break the network before we actually move any production over to this network. The new equipment is a scale down on the CapEx side because it doesn't require as much equipment for each PSAP or each state entity that has the PSTN hardware. We have over 500 locations. The phase 1 has 112 locations, which are mainly PSAPs and other core entities that are needed, like EOCs and stuff. But the equipment is really scaled down because the state is taking advantage of the new technology. So we've gone from these big M6 chassis that make a lot of noise, and most of you heard them in the server rooms at the PSAPs, carrier grade equipment, so it handles all kinds of heat and conditions. All of that's gotten scaled down to solid state devices with optics, and it will be a whole lot easier to maintain once we get it rolled out. But again, everything is underway. I know everyone's been patiently waiting for us to get things going. There have been issues in the past that were, some things that we couldn't avoid, such as COVID at one time and supply chain issues, but it is underway. So that's pretty much it on the refresh. If there are any questions, if not, I will move on. Okay, great. So next I'm going to report on the PSEP pending relocations and moves. As most of you know, a lot of the nodes or PSAPs will move from one location to another as they build new facilities throughout the state and towns and municipalities. Currently, there are 3 that are pending. North Branford PD is currently under construction. They're going to be moving to 305 Forest Road. The completion of that build out should be end of the year, first quarter 24. And then at that time, we will be migrating the PSTN and first responder apps and stuff into that facilities. Second, we have New Canaan PD, which is also refreshing their current PD building, and that's going to require a temporary move. We call it phase 1 move to another location while that forklift is taking place. The new location will be at 39 Locust Street in New Canaan, and our expectations are this facilities will be moving sometime late November, maybe first week of December. Last, we have Wallingford PD, which is also scheduled to be constructing a new location at 100 Barnes Street, and this should be completed also in 2024. That concludes my report. And if there are no questions, I thank everyone.
Thank you, Chuck. We can move on to Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
I don't see a representative from Dennis here unless I'm missing somebody. Is there anybody on the
No,
call
this
representing Dennis?
is Quentin Battisti from Demis. I'm giving the brief today.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Quentin.
So just a couple of things from Demis. First of all, on Monday, October 4th, the Message Center conducted a NAWAS test. 6 of the 22 phone holders participated in that test and responded. Demis will reach out to the municipalities that didn't respond and try to figure out what the issue was with that. If there's anyone that didn't receive notification of the test or has any issues with their phone, should reach out to John Hartenbaum here at Demis. The next test, actually all the tests will be held on the first Monday of the month at 10 o'clock, and the next test is Monday, November 6th. Just wanted to note we'll be conducting the yearly EPPI on Saturday, October 14th and Wednesday the 18th, and it is a hazmat scenario. Finally, Demis received some funding to upgrade the comm center at the State Emergency Operations Center. So we'll be upgrading the comms room sometime in the next year or so. And that is all I have from Demis.
Great. We can then move on to FirstNet update.
All right, I'll take the FirstNet update. Not much going on in terms of FirstNet. We have used the CRDs, which is the compact rapid deployables, at a couple of events. They're working very well. And also, just one other quick update for the FirstNet is we have our first FirstNet progress meeting scheduled for November 29th. We're going to be soon sending an invitation to our SEAT, that's our State Interoperability Executive Committee. And we look forward to the upcoming meeting. And after the meeting, we'll update the commission.
Okay. Department of Public Health.
Not sure that Ralph is on the call.
No, she's not here today.
Okay. The good news is I'm going to do a quick update on bylaws and strategic plan. Since I'm stepping down, I think that these both items should be on hold so that whoever the new chair can, lead the strategic plan. But keep thinking about the issues that the strategic plan should address and the bylaws. Maybe I can keep working on that. But anyways, I think both of those are kind of, will stay on the agenda until they're complete, but more appropriate, I think, for new leadership to keep moving on those. So unless there are any questions or comments on that, we can move on to new business, which Clayton, is there any?
We don't have any new business.
All right. So the next opportunity then for public comment. Any public comment? Hearing none, we can move on to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, Jeff Morissette.
Okay, Jeff Morissette makes motion to adjourn at 10:28. Is there a second?
Second, Bobby Grower.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And all the people that don't know how to unmute on Teams, we'll take that as an aye. Any opposed? Well, let's go. Thank you all again for your service to the state of Connecticut. The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a great day.